So there's been a pretty interesting trend of people using the male loneliness epidemic as an opportunity to engagement farm online, usually to talk poorly about men and to say it's actually men's fault that they're lonely because they're just bad people that don't know how to behave and interact in society, from women whose example always seems to come down to, I was treated poorly by my ex-boyfriend, who I guess by definition then wasn't lonely. And this has been a thing that's been going on for a while. I don't know, because it's just popular to hate on men. I mean, you make a tweet saying men bad and you get like 50,000 likes. If you go over to TikTok, it's really popular to do that over there. If you type in misandry, you're just going to find a bunch of girls saying that it isn't real, that it doesn't happen, and everything that contributes to men's unhappiness is men's fault, but everything that contributes to women's unhappiness is also men's fault. And it seems like there's been an uptick in these kinds of just misandrous engagement baiting posts that are just like men bad and they just get 100,000 likes for saying that. And these are some of the top rated posts that I found just by typing in male loneliness epidemic into the search bar on Twitter. Everyone talks about the male loneliness epidemic, but no one talks about the hot, successful, and smart girls who can't find suitable partners because dating in this day and age is equivalent to an involuntary check-in at the mental hospital. Of course, she says that, but the only time that I ever see people talking about the male loneliness epidemic is when it's a woman trying to dunk on men for how horrible they are and it's their own fault and self-inflicted, which is a pretty funny argument because it denies the difference between men and women in the first place and how difficult it is for men to try to get into relationships, kind of painting the picture that women are able to get relationships more easily because they're just better people than men are. They're pushing this idea that women are just inherently more sociable, likable people, and that's why they have an easier time getting attention and getting into relationships. They don't care about the grievances of men or how difficult their lives are day to day because it's easy to just paint them off as the oppressors when you're attempting to be oppressed and say that you are being held down by the patriarchy and that there's so many more wealthy men that there are women and that men are controlling the system and trying to make it worse for women. This is kind of the ideology behind this like hatred of men by women. And there was another thread that stood out to me in particular when looking up posts about this issue. And it's this post by Broadway Baby TO on X, which says, the male loneliness epidemic is largely because men haven't learned how to behave. Women are fed up. I had an ex who didn't believe my food allergies were severe. He made dinner one night and snuck spices into the food to trap me in a gotcha. This is the first of a thread of replies that she would make explaining this story, which amounts to, my ex-boyfriend treated me poorly, so this is why men are lonely and they deserve to be lonely because they're bad people and they don't know how to behave. And this post, as of me reading it, has over 5 million views and over 160,000 likes. So there's a lot of people that agree with this general sentiment that men are lonely because they're bad. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to treat people right. They don't know how to interact with other people properly. And they do mean things, which leads to people not liking them. Of course, if you ask them why women aren't similarly lonely, it's going to be some explanation of why women are inherently better people. It's just funny how when women decide to say something about the male loneliness epidemic, it's basically just an opportunity for them to slam their ex-boyfriend who treated them poorly, who was not lonely then and probably isn't even lonely now. His brilliant plan was to prove my allergies were all in my head. He figured if I couldn't taste it and didn't know it was there, I wouldn't have a reaction. Then he planned to tell me and prove I wasn't actually sick. It backfired spectacularly. I will admit, the food he served was delicious and he did mask the allergens well. I had no idea they were in there. My lips and tongue burned a bit, but I believed everything I was eating to be safe, so I didn't worry about it. Within 30 minutes, I was having a full-blown allergic reaction. Hives, wheezing, cardiac issues, and mouth sores. He was telling me to calm down. Thankfully, my rescue meds prevented me from needing the ER, but I was up all night violently ill. And I'd just like to stop here and say, this is a guy who not only was not lonely to begin with, he was dating this woman who chose him. She chose this man to be her partner, and he was not lonely. And if we had to guess, he may not be lonely right now. He could be in another relationship. But besides that, this is a man who made the conscious decision to deny that she had real allergies, and he fed her the things that would trigger her allergies, effectively poisoning her. So her own ex-boyfriend, who she chose and she was dating, had made the decision to poison her to try to test if she was actually going to get sick from these things that she's allergic to. She got violently ill because of it, and he was trying to tell her to calm down as if there was nothing wrong. Now, how does this tie into the male loneliness epidemic in any capacity? That's what I would like to know. Her ex-boyfriend poisoning her somehow means that Men in general, men, the monolith, are just bad people just like her ex-boyfriend, of course, because other men would do the exact same thing. Of course, it's not fair to assume that about women because women are good people, but men are bad people, so any other man is going to be like her ex-boyfriend who, again, she chose to date this guy. She was the one that was supposed to do an analysis on his personality, but other men are going to be just like this guy, and they're going to try to poison you to prove that you're not actually going to get sick from these allergens. This is an absolutely insane way of thinking. It's like if you read an article about a woman putting rat poison in her husband's coffee, then you say all women are going to do this and all women are killers who will poison your food, stab you in your sleep, things like that to get rid of you. She is literally saying because her ex-boyfriend poisoned her as some kind of experiment to see whether or not she'd actually get sick, that this is some kind of indictment on men as a whole, and that this is why men are lonely. Basically, my ex-boyfriend was mean to me, so men are bad people and they deserve loneliness and depression. It wasn't until hours later he confessed what he did. At that point, he felt genuinely bad and seemed remorseful, but the damage was done. Even as he was apologizing, he just kept saying, "I was trying to help you. I wanted you to get over your issues." First, medical conditions are not issues. Allergies are life-threatening and not something to be toyed with. Second, what he did was the opposite of helpful. It was deceitful, cruel, and risky. I broke up with him right away. This is an example of terrible and abusive behavior, but it also shows the harms of ableism. This man claimed to love me, yet in the time we were together, never actually respected or believed me. He saw my disabilities as something to be fixed or overcome. Rather than have a mature conversation about it, he unilaterally decided he knew best and ran with it. He's lucky he didn't kill me. He absolutely could have. Take allergies seriously. Take disability seriously. Take women seriously. Before people say this has nothing to do with him being a man and he was just a bad egg, I don't know a single woman who would do this or even think of doing this. I know men who stealth. I'm assuming she meant to say steal. I know men who roofie. I know men who blame the victim. The men are the problem. If she genuinely believes there are many women out there that do all of these same things, stealing, poisoning people, and even killing people, then I think her brain is missing a few wrinkles. There isn't a crime that men commit that women don't also commit, even if the methodology is different. There are female thieves, drug dealers, sex offenders, killers of various kinds. There's been men poisoned by drugs like roofies and similar, with the woman's intention being to steal his belongings. I mean, what kind of brainlit low IQ statement is this? I don't know a single woman who would do this or think of doing this. What does she think women go to jail for? This is what I mean when I say that a lot of women have this idea that women are inherently good people and men are inherently bad people. You don't have to worry about anything bad happening when you're around a woman, but when a man is around you, you have to worry about rape, you have to worry about getting killed and abused in some gruesome way, because once again, men are inherently bad people and they're out to get you, and women are the only ones who are behaved in society. That's the underlying message in posts like this, and you can see by the likes that there are many people who seem to agree. This is also an extreme example of ableism and the harm it can cause. My boyfriend didn't want to deal with my disabilities. My extreme allergies were part of them. He wanted to fix me. This happens to so many of us. We are abused, abandoned, discriminated against, or worse. A lot of people are asking why I didn't call the police. This happened years ago. I was young and naive and it genuinely didn't occur to me. Also, this happens to disabled people a lot. Men decide our issues are in our heads and try to trick us or force us to overcome. There are cases of women poisoning people, but most are with intent to kill. My BF clearly didn't have intent to kill. His intention was to show me up, to prove I wasn't actually sick, to make me a better girlfriend. And yes, I firmly believe that's more common with men. It's actually insane to read and see that there are people that are not only this stupid, but there are many people who agree with the things that are being said here. She believes that it's a common thing for a man to poison you because he doesn't believe that your allergies are real allergies. Well, I'm sure if you went to a doctor who is much more likely to be a man than a woman, and probably is also the person who prescribed you with your drugs that fix your issue, then that doctor would probably not believe that your allergies are fake and try to test whether or not they're real by giving you things that trigger your allergies. Having an anomaly of a guy so stupid that he would literally poison you because he doesn't believe you're going to get sick from your allergies, and then trying to take that and put that as the image of men that you have in your head, saying that men in general are like this, and that they will do dangerous things that threaten your life because they're men. This not only displays a lack of intelligence and ignoring all the men in your life that you've ever interacted with, including doctors that would never do something like this, but it's also blatantly misandrist and taking an anecdote from the one experience that you had that was this horrible, which by the way was a boyfriend that you decided to date, and trying to apply it to all men as if men are a monolith. The last reply in this thread was, the comments here displaying a horrifying amount of misogyny and ableism. Disabled lives are not valued. People force us to take risks. They tell us we're better off dead, that we should just try harder. You can't try harder your way out of disability. So this entire thread was basically just, my ex-boyfriend was mean to me, so this is why men are lonely and they deserve to be lonely. If men were better people, then they wouldn't be lonely. Of course, women aren't lonely because they're good people, and they don't do bad things like men do. My example is one anecdote from an ex-boyfriend who wasn't lonely by definition, and possibly is not even lonely now. And the fact that this got over 160,000 likes, it's looking bleak. And it's very interesting that the only time you'll see posts that are actually popular talking about the male loneliness epidemic, it's women basically taking the opportunity to hate on men and use their own anecdotal experience to back it up. Like that woman who had a crazy boyfriend who literally poisoned her, she's going to say that that's how men in general act and generalize. And if you're a man and you're seeing how much you are hated by modern women and you're demonized and you're made out to be a bad person without doing anything like any of these horror stories describe, it's not going to inspire you to be assertive, which is a position that would never be taken up by women. Women aren't going to go approach men. Women aren't going to invite men out to dates and then pay for the dates and do all of those things. Men are the ones that do that, and that's the way that it's always been, and no matter how much seems to change, the nature of women and men is that men are the assertive ones and women wait to be chased after. With rare exceptions, that's how it goes. Even the most feminist women don't really seem to buck that trend. So if you're a man and you're looking at this, you're thinking the world literally hates you and demonizes you, but it's your job anyway to go out and try to find a relationship and try to get with these women that despise you and tell you that every day, and if you don't, you're a loser and you're the problem. Women can't be the problem. Women aren't dangerous and women don't commit crimes. Only men do. You're by default a bad person that has to prove that you're good. Prove that you're deserving of a woman. Prove that you won't poison her when she tells you her allergies, because the average man does things like that. This is what women today seem to think about men. It's no wonder why less people are dating. It's no wonder why less people are having sex. It's no wonder why less people are having children. There are economic factors, but the social factors are just as glaring. But that's all I had to say for this video. If you found it interesting, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Oh, and before I forget, happy International Men's Day. Have a great one.